The mainframe still runs, probably 50% of the world's mission critical applications. And it's not something you can't just turn off. Here in South Africa, all your major banks have a large presence with mainframe computing. And because of the mainframe's scalability, reliability, security, disaster recovery capabilities, it's a very, very robust platform. In fact, if you look at IBM's most recent earnings, that they're still seeing significant growth in the mainframe capacity, and in new clients such as in China and those emerging countries that are buying mainframes. CA is the #1 ISV across the mainframe software technology stack. CA has been around almost 40 years on the mainframe software. That's where our roots are. So we continue to invest heavily in the mainframe software technology stacks. Our cloud initiatives, our strategic initiative in our Chorus technology is key. So the mainframe is going to be strategic for quite a long time, and it's emerging with cloud and big data, and CA's there investing in it too.
BYOD is the end user community using their own devices to access corporate assets, and it's extraordinarily easy to manage that challenge with something called MDM, Mobile Device Management. All the manufacturers have produced APIs, application programming interfaces, and mechanisms to control the device and its usage. But the old story of how you deal with BYOD is based on control and lockdown, find and wipe, restrict access, are all concepts of restriction. Whereas in reality, in CA's belief, which has been validated quite strongly globally and locally, mobility is not about controlling BYOD at all. But what's much more interesting is the transformation of a workforce from being controlled within the firewall in a traditional way to now being outside the firewall as a true enterprise mobile workforce. And that is what mobility is.
An API is just access to the data source to get the piece of information you're requesting. So if you're looking for the weather, it would be the application that provides the weather for that area. That would be the API. So the mobile application would make a call back to that system. That system would pull up that information. So the way most mobile applications work is they've got a structure for the application, but they pull data, live data when required. A lot of these APIs will be used by different types of applications. So a banking example is you might go onto your banking application and do some kind of transaction where you're moving money, to pay a bill, or you're doing some kind of transaction with your application. It'll connect back to the APIs for the bank, it'll do the transaction, and then a lot of cases now, you want things like an SMS, they'll use an SMS service from one of the carriers. So it'll be an API call to the bank will then make an API call to your telco, and they'll send an SMS back to you with kind of confirmation you've done it. So often APIs, multiple different APIs from different companies will be used in kind of a single transaction that might be on your phone. A lot of people, when they started off with mobile applications, they went and hired a company or they developed themselves. They did direct connections into pieces of data in their back end, but there wasn't a lot of thought into the overall security and management of who's getting what information, what you're exposing. To begin with, when they made the applications, it was usually just so they could do pretty generic things, and they weren't able to do like fund transfers or anything. They could do an account lookup, maybe do a change. But as the mobile applications become a lot more sophisticated, you can do a lot more with them. There's a lot more concerns over the security of it and the management of it and all of those things. And that's really where kind of a product like ours, instead of custom developing that integration between your mobile application and the API, you can sit a product like ours in front of it, and what we do is we layer on that security integration layer. So you're not directly connecting the API to your application, you're exposing the API and then letting the application connect to it through layer 7 API management.